Thanks everybody for joining. I think now's a good time to get kick-started before and then yeah, as people join, they can just um fall into the conversation. So thanks again everyone for joining. Really excited to have everybody here, and I'm even more excited to be able to host this Think It event because we have a really special guest with us. He is the human equivalent of work hard, pray harder. He's got brains, bhakti, and boldness to ghost Google for God. A guy so academically elite, he scored a whopping 96.4% in 12th grade boards, then strolls into IIT Roorkee, not just for a BTech, but for a BTech and MTech combination. On his first day of placements, he lands two dream jobs, one with Google and then one with Goldman Sachs, and casually picks Google. And this wasn't even from a computer science background. He was the first student from a non-computer science branch in Roorkee to make it into Google. It gets better than that. He then crushes it at Google Next and Google Nest in India, and shifts to Google Cloud in London, living the high-flying tech life. And just when you think he'd IPO his own startup, he pulls a full 180 degrees and says, "Peace out, Google. I'm becoming a monk." So this is the monk who left Google. It isn't a book like The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. This is his real life. He traded the big tech for the big truth, and today we so excited and grateful to be able to share this evening with the ridiculously overqualified Ananta Acyuta. Hi, Anant.
Hello, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. I'm so happy to be here.
I was so excited preparing this introduction because when I got to see all your achievements, I was genuinely in awe, and thought that at least I'm going to get to introduce introduce someone with such amazing achievements. Um, Thank you so much for being here with us today, and I'm so excited to dive into this topic, because I think it's so amazing for somebody to have achieved so much and then realize internally that there may be something more or there is something more. So maybe I can just hand it over to you to tell us or take us back to the moment where this all started and what shaped your journey to where you are today.
Yeah, so if I remember correctly, it all started when I was in class 9 at my school, in grade 9. At that time, my brother had reached out to me asking me that, "Hey, Ananta, enough of fun. Now it's time to get a bit serious about life." So he asked me to come up with a decision what I want to pursue as a career. And after that conversation, I had gone on to do a very extensive research about the different career options. And I had also talked to several professionals in different fields. And after all of that permutation and combination, I came up with the decision that I'll go with engineering. And the engineering should be from IIT Roorkee. I was from North India, Roorkee, the city in North India. So I thought IIT Roorkee will be a good option. So when I mentioned about this idea to my brother, he said, "Engineering is okay, but IIT is not a joke. It's a serious business. Are you sure you want to do it? Because the success percent of IIT is zero point 0.5. More than 1.5 million students sit for the exam. Many students don't even sit because it's that tough, and less than 10,000 actually end up getting a seat over there." So he told me that sometimes we'll have to study more than 14 hours a day. Are you ready? So when he said that, there was a terror in my heart. But somehow I said yes. So as a result, I pursued the specific coaching or training for IIT examinations and ended up getting a seat at my dream college, IIT Roorkee. And long story short, within IIT also for 10 months straight, I prepared for job interviews, again, under the guidance of my brother, and ended up getting a software job at Google. So one thing that I had learned from the very beginning days of my life was that hard work is the price of anything valuable. So what is precious will never be handed over to you easily. So I had understood that I need to sacrifice a few years of comfort if I want decades of freedom. So yeah, that's what I would say.
And maybe just digging a bit deeper on the point of hard work is the price of everything valuable. Like at that young age, how did you come to the realization of hard work being the price of something valuable or something valuable that you were going to achieve? And then I guess from that, how did you cultivate a mindset of like overcoming all these challenges or putting all this hard work in when it was tempting to give up?
Yeah. So when we talk about hard work, it means we are talking about something that is difficult to achieve. What most of the people think is either something is easy or it's difficult. So they think that these are two extremes. Either something will be easy to achieve or it will be difficult. But no, that's not right. The opposite of easy is never difficult. The opposite of easy is impossible. And difficulty lies somewhere in the middle. So difficulty is the place where maximum growth takes place. So therefore, I think that we should embrace difficulty. We should not settle down for something that's easy. The things that come easy, they generally don't last long. And guess what? The things that last long never come easy. So yeah, even if something is difficult, I'll say do it, do it, do it, do it. Do it alone, do it tired, do it broke, do it scared. But just do it. At max, what will happen? At max, you'll fail, right? You won't perish. At max, you'll fail. So what? Life has many chapters for us. So one bad chapter doesn't mean that it's the end of the book, right? We should remember that failure is a bruise. It's not a tattoo. So what I always tell people is set your bar for success so high, so ridiculously high, that even if you fail, your failure is above the success of others. That's what happened with me. I never shared this in any public forum, but personally, I had a desire to be in the top 100 in the IIT exam. I wanted to have a rank within top 100. But somehow, the IIT examination day was not my day. I made several mistakes and I didn't end up being amongst the top 100 students. I failed apparently, but even that failure was higher than the success of others. So yeah, that's the power of pursuing difficult things. That's the power of hard work.
That is so inspiring. That is so inspiring to hear on the amount of resilience you've managed to cultivate. Do you have like any tips on resilience? Like, how do you push through doing difficult things when it's so easy to want to give up?
Yeah, I mean, during my Google interview preparation, so many times it happened, that I felt like giving up, because when it came to job preparation, the job interviews, I was not competing with just IIT Roorkee toppers. I was not just competing with India toppers. The students who were sitting with me in the online test for these jobs, they were world toppers. I remember there were 3 students who had secured a world rank 42, and I was sitting with them in these interviews. So many times I felt discouraged. I felt like giving up. But what Bhagavad-gita teaches us is that we should keep our intention above emotion, above our feelings. There's a very wonderful verse which comes in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad-gita. It says, Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandana bahushakha yanantascha buddhayo avyavasayinam. So in this verse, Bhagavad Gita is talking about 2 categories of people. The first category is of those who are driven by purpose, those who have a goal in life, those who are committed to a purpose. And the term which Bhagavad Gita uses for such people, for this category of people, is Vyavasayi. Vyavasayi literally means a businessman. Now you would ask, why are those who are committed to a purpose being referred to as businessman? Because a businessman is someone who's always committed to one thing, and that is profit. He doesn't care what government is there in power. He doesn't care what weather is there outside. He doesn't care who's coming and who's going. He is only concerned with one thing, and that is profit. Even if he's on a vacation, if at the vacation destination, if he can make some good networks, he'll do that. Why? Because more networks means more profit, right? So that's the first category, who are driven by purpose, who have a purpose in life. The other category is of those who are not driven by purpose. So now you'll ask, if they're not driven by purpose, then what are they driven by? They must be driven by something, right? If somebody is existing in this world, they must be having a driving force. So what are they driven by? So they are driven by feelings. They're driven by their mind. They're driven by their emotions. And that's why they're always distracted. It is said, those who are not committed to anything are distracted by everything. So, and if you ask them, if you go on to ask them, why are you not committed to a purpose? Why don't you have a goal in life? They'll reply that if we have a goal, if we have a purpose, we'll become bound. And we don't want to become bound. We want to have a great time. We want to eat, drink, and be merry. We want to have a great time. And it's right. It's correct. Those who are driven by feelings, they have a great time. But those who are driven by purpose, they have a great life. Those who are driven by feelings, they may know how to look cool. But those who are driven by purpose, they know how to be cool. Those who are driven by feelings, they seek excitement. And those who are driven by purpose, they seek growth. Those who are driven by feelings, they live for today. Those who are driven by purpose, they plan for tomorrow. Those who are driven by feelings, they chase fleeting pleasures. Those who are driven by purpose, they build lasting legacies. Those who are driven by feelings, their only source of nourishment is external praise. But those who are driven by purpose, their source of nourishment is their own inner blaze. They are not affected by external praise or external validation. No, they know that if external validation is the only source of our nourishment, then we'll end up remaining hungry for the rest of our life. They know this. They are not carried away by the ups and downs of life. They know that ups and downs, they're not life. They're just a part of life. One interesting thing I heard after the 2007 Cricket World Cup, Adam Gilchrist, he was interviewed after this World Cup and he was asked, Mr. Gilchrist, are you planning to retire? Do you have any plans for taking retirement? For those of you who don't know, 2007 Cricket World Cup was won by Australia, and Adam Gilchrist was an Australian cricketer. And this question was asked because that's how most of the athletes or cricketers, they end their career. They try to end their career on a high note after winning some World Cup, some Champions Trophy, some tournament, some league. For example, last year, 2024, the T20 World Cup was won by India. And on the day of the finale, three Indian legends, Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, and Ravindra Jadeja, all three of them announced their retirement. Why? Because that's what everyone does. Everyone tries to end their career on a high note because if they do so, they'll be remembered for the rest of their life as someone who had done something great for the country, for the nation. So therefore, this interviewer asked Gilchrist, are you planning to retire? And everyone expected a yes. But he gave a response which was totally unexpected. He said, Adam Gilchrist doesn't make a decision when it's too high or too low. Adam Gilchrist doesn't make a decision when it's too high or too low. He knew that success or failure was not his career. Success or failure was a part of his career. He knew that I don't have to be driven by feelings. I have to be driven by purpose. So yeah, this is what I tried to follow during the tough parts of my journey.
That was so powerful and so poetic at the same time. I feel like those shares you those lines you shared. We should try and get it, and if you don't mind putting it on the chat, or we can put it on the chat afterwards, just so that everybody can take a snippet of it, where those who are driven by feelings have a certain outcome, and those who are driven by purpose have a certain outcome. Well, yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Maybe if I could just ask a slightly personal question. How did you know what your purpose was? Or was it just from that conversation with your brother at grade in year 9, and then exploring it and searching for it? Or how were you so convinced about your purpose?
So to begin with, we can have a high level purpose. Like my high level purpose was engineering. Then as time passed by, I kept on fine tuning it as well. Like I brought it down to software engineering. And then within software engineering also, there's back-end engineering or front-end engineering. So because I'm more of a design person, so I was clear from the very beginning that I want to go with the front-end part. So uh, so this is something like somebody wanting to be a cricketer. So if somebody just says that I want to be a cricketer, is that enough? No, that's not enough. They need to bring it down. They need to decide whether I want to be a bowler or I want to be a batsman. If somebody starts their career with the idea that I want to be an all-rounder, they never end up becoming successful. You start with one thing, and then you can expand your area of expertise. So let's say somebody chooses to be a bowler. Is that sufficient? No. You need to decide whether you want to be a fast-paced bowler or you want to be a spinner. Okay, I want to be a spinner. Is deciding just that I want to be a spinner sufficient? No. You need to bring it down further, whether I want to be an off spinner or leg spinner. So like this. And how does this happen? How does this fine-tuning happen? It happens with different processes. One is talking to the experts. Second is trying out things yourself personally. And then failing in certain areas also. So if you fail in certain areas, you get to eliminate those areas. And then you get to know, okay, so now this is the limited set that I can focus on. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I feel like that also links really nicely to the point you raised earlier about resilience. On failing builds resilience, but at the same time, it helps you further align with your purpose. Because if the door closes, that means there's something else or something better waiting for you, and then that can direct you. So yeah, the failure is not just a full stop. It's a comma for something better to come. Um, yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And maybe back to thinking with feelings and on purpose. When we are drawn to feelings, or at least when speaking for myself, just when my mind is overactive and drawn towards feelings and forgetting purpose, how do you then ground yourself again to go back to thinking with your purpose and not getting sucked in with your feelings?
Uh, so this I would say is that surround yourself with those who are driven by a purpose. Surround yourself with those people who inspire you. Uh, I'd heard this once that if you look at the people in your circle and you don't get inspired, then unfortunately, you never had a circle. All you had was a cage. So people can either inspire us or they can drain us, right? So we need to choose them wisely. If someone is draining us, so we need to let them go off. Uh, of course, letting go of people is sometimes tough, but if we don't let go of the wrong people, then we'll never be able to meet the right ones, right? So yeah, that's what I would say. Association with the purpose-driven people.
Um, what kept you through your journey through university, IIT, and getting your job? Just associating with people who were purpose driven that guided you through your journey.
Sorry, can you say it again? I missed that.
No, I said so. Through your journey, you were just associating with lots of purpose driven people, which then helped guide you in your trajectory.
Yeah, some of them were friends, some of them were seniors, some of them were not even IITians, but I found that they were very focused, very driven in life. So yeah.
Do you have daily practices or things that you do that help you on a personal level to align with your purpose?
Yes. One thing that really helped me in this regard was regular reflections. What I tried doing was time and again, kept asking myself, what am I doing? And this is what Bhagavad-gita also tells us. In the 18th chapter, there's a verse which says, Pravritim cha nivritim cha karya akarye bhaya bhaye. Those who are intelligent, they know what is karya and what is akarya. They know what ought to be done and what ought not to be done. So by asking this question, what am I doing? I managed to stay on track with my purpose. If we don't ask this question to ourselves, what am I doing? One day we'll end up asking, what have I done? And I was very clear that when it comes to my career, I would never want to be in a situation when I'm asking myself, what have I done? So regular recommitment is what helps. The key to lasting commitment is regular recommitment. Yeah, that's what I would say.
You just reflected through your journey to make sure that you at least holding yourself accountable to following your purpose and making sure that you're not going in off in the wrong direction. And I guess that also goes back to your previous response on keeping the right people around you, which then constantly helps you on the right trajectory. But then on a personal level, you were just reflecting on it to build you, yeah, to take you on the correct path.
Yeah.
Um, maybe we can. I see that we almost halfway through, so I want to now go to the most important, or the most, yeah, well, the point, the turning point of your journey. So you were climbing this purpose-driven career, and then got to the very top. I would say getting to Google Cloud here in London, thriving in the big city, doing your dream job, and then making this decision of, what made you change this decision, especially after so much of hard work, so much of effort, and so much of success. It feels like you at that point where you've made it.
Okay. So I'm being asked this question very often these days, that why did you resign from Google, right? So my answer is actually very simple. So when me and my brother, we were kids, somehow our parents managed to get us admitted into one of the best schools in Delhi. Although financially it was a bit tough for them, but still somehow they managed. And as I grew, as I mentioned in the beginning, with the help of my brother, I managed to get into IIT, one of the best colleges in India. And within IIT, again, I tried to work relentlessly and managed to get a job at Google, one of the best jobs in the world. So, how I see this is, by God's grace, I got one of the best schools in Delhi. By His grace, I got one of the best colleges in India. By His grace, I got one of the best jobs in the world. Now it is my time to offer one of the best days of my life in His service back to Him. So, yeah, that was the idea.
Yeah. Goosebumps listening to that. Mm. Then, yeah, that is incredible to hear. How, maybe just to reflect on the point where you said that you were reflecting regularly, is it through your reflections regularly that you came to this conclusion of, you've now achieved everything and it's up time for you to now give it back?
Yeah. So basically, I would say that cultivating that mindset begins with remembering that everything we have is a gift. It's not an entitlement. That's generally what we think, right? If we get something, we think that it's because of my hard work, it's because of my efforts. I was entitled to it. But what I practiced during my reflections was to see these things, my job, my education, my health, all these blessings as a gift. I saw them as being given to me by grace and not just earned by effort. And as a result, it naturally created a sense of responsibility and gratitude in me. For me, I would say that this gratitude started to feel like a calling. So when you say that, when people say that why I gave up everything, I reply that the mindset isn't about giving up everything. It's about giving everything back. And that too, and this giving back everything should happen in the right spirit. And when that happens, then surrender doesn't feel like a loss. At that time, surrender becomes like coming home, coming back home. So, yeah.
So powerful. That's so powerful. Especially for somebody who's worked so hard throughout their life to then reflect on this and think that this is actually just all by the grace of divinity and by grace that you received all these gifts, and it's not your own hard work, when it's so easy, and I can speak for myself to think that this was all of my hard work that got me to achieve this. And you saying that it's through gratitude or constant gratitude and reflection that allowed you to stay grounded like this.
Yeah.
Wow. And maybe I'll just put it out. Well, I'll just let everybody know. Please do feel free to share questions in the chat. We can then discuss these questions, or we'll also leave time at the end to speak about, or to let everybody ask questions. But yeah, please put them in the chat in the meantime also, so that we don't miss any. But yeah, maybe would you like to share your experience now of, okay, well, first, let me just think very personally. Did you speak to your brother about leaving Google to become a monk? And was he fine with that decision?
Yes. I mean, all my entire family, my brother and my parents, they were super happy with this decision because they also knew that happiness is not about gratification. Happiness is not about earning lots and lots of money and then spending it for sense gratification. No, generally, people think that this is what people think, that happiness is a product of gratification. But no, that's not true. People think that if I eat something nice, I'll be happy. If I see something nice, I'll be happy. But no, happiness is not a product of gratification. Rather, it's a byproduct of dedication. Dedication to what? Dedication to purpose. And the gratification, it can be delayed, or it should be delayed. And when gratification is delayed, no, it has immense power. Immense power. Just to give an example, when I was at my school, one fine day, I came back home crying. My mother was like, "What happened to you? I mean, why are you crying?" I said, "Again, today again, I was made fun of at school. Again, the boys made a mockery out of me. All the classmates of mine, they possess a personal smartphone. And me, I don't even know how to use a smartphone. I struggle with Facebook. I don't even know how to use Twitter. What to talk of Facebook and Twitter? I sometimes struggle even with a simple Google search. Please, I think now it's time for me to get a personal smartphone. Please get me one." And my mother, she replied, She said, "My dear son, it's not that we cannot afford a smartphone for you. We can easily do that. But remember, for you, the age is to study. Smartphone will distract you. So please put all your focus on studies. And as far as the rebukes of your classmates is concerned, please tolerate it." When I heard this, I said, "Okay, I'll tolerate. But till when? Till how long should I tolerate?" 10 years, she replied. I said, 10 years? What will happen after 10 years? What will happen? My mother, all of a sudden, she became a bit grave. She paused and replied, "After 10 years, if the Lord so desires, when 7 billion people on the face of the earth will be using Google on their phone, you will be sitting and designing Google for their phone." And it happened. This is the power of delaying gratification. So indifference to the public opinion, you know, indifference is the new cool. Why to be the trend follower when you can be the trend setter? So mind will always go toward gratification. But we should know that we don't need to pay any heed to those thoughts. The less we identify with the thoughts of the mind, the less we'll act thoughtlessly. So yes, so coming back to your question, that what was the opinion of my family? My family was very happy. Of course, many of my relatives, they were very upset. They were like, "What have you done? What have you done?" Even my manager, the manager at Google, he was also like, "Why? Why are you going?" But yeah, my family, fortunately, I got such a family, who always encouraged these decisions, who are not after temporary things. They had a higher vision in life. So yeah, they supported me.
Genuinely sounds like your life was so divinely arranged and planned for you to follow this path. In the start, I said that this is not the poker monk who sold his Ferrari. This is real life. But after hearing the story of your mom, I feel like maybe it is time for you to write a book, because if this was I want to say your mom's prophecy, and for you to love it 10 years later, that is mind blowing.
Yeah. So my parents were also, I mean, they always led a simple life for themselves. And they also tried to cultivate this habit, I mean, the mindset of simplicity in us. But somehow I was just a bit too passionate since childhood. I was always in that achiever mindset. So when simple things didn't used to pass through my head. So then they used to come up with such motivational statements. So yeah.
It sounded like they knew exactly what to tell you to get you to get the best out of you.
Yeah, I think that statement had hit my ego. That,
Yeah.
okay, now I have to do it. So yeah.
So it was easy to choose between Goldman Sachs and Google, because Goldman Sachs, you weren't going to create apps for anybody.
Yeah.
I've got a question here from Krishna Monks. Um, why keep working towards short-term goals if the ultimate decision is to give it all back to the divine? Why not give it back as soon as possible?
Mm, yeah. I mean, so it's not that I'm trying to cultivate this habit after working for 4.5 years at Google. I tried to cultivate this habit of giving back even during my university days, even during my professional life. Basically, when we were at the university, we used to conduct regular Gita events at our college, because I knew that it's not that after I achieve a lot, then I have to give back. No, even when I'm achieving things, I should regularly cultivate this habit of thanking, So the mindset of gratitude. So yeah, and that's why I had heard about something called 5 a.m. club back in my university days. So this is what I tried to do very regularly. What I mean by 5 a.m. club is spending the early morning hours of the day trying to reflect, trying to read, trying to journal, trying to meditate. And this helped me uh, during the hours when I'm going outside in the world to perform. So if we spend the early morning hours in reform, then during the daytime, we'll be able to perform. And with the combination of these two, our lives can transform. So, yeah.
Even those 2 hours of reform or that 5 a.m., the early mornings of your reform could be seen as you giving back. Is like how you said you carried it out throughout your life, like you're always trying to give back. In those 2 hours, you were giving back.
Yeah, giving back in those 2 hours, or planning how much to give back now and how much to focus on performance. So there are two things, right? One is our own career, and the second is giving back. So how much time to spend where? So all this planning used to happen in the early morning hours, along with reflections, this, that. So, yeah.
I heard someone share something on this topic recently also about why not give back ASAP, and they shared that it's easy to give away nothing, but it's much more challenging to give away something. And so we don't, in like the bhakti tradition, you don't want to falsely renounce or falsely give away, but you want to give something worth value. So you love a life, and the analogy for me was given like love your life to be the most beautiful rose, and then once you have that rose, you offer the most beautiful rose to the divine instead of just a bud or just the seeds, but you want to, yeah, develop something amazing and then offer that to the divine, and then that's yeah, what would give you the most fulfillment.
Yeah. And I generally don't prefer to use the term renounce, because Bhagavad-gita says that the only thing that we need to renounce is the idea that we have something to renounce. What? I mean, what belongs to us actually? How I see things is that everything belongs to the Lord. What I got is by His mercy and can be engaged back in His service. So even if we are trying to achieve big things, so that's fine. Nothing wrong with achieving big things, but those big things can be employed in His service. Those things can be employed for the welfare of humanity. Therefore, while we are achieving, while we are going out to achieve, before that, don't forget to receive. So during that receive mode or receive zone, you can figure out how achievements can be utilized for a higher purpose, for betterment of the humanity.
So powerful, dear. The concept of renouncing, knowing that there is nothing to renounce because nothing is yours in the first place. um yeah, thank you for sharing. We've got another question from Himangi. Could you please share what was your inspiration, or what inspired you to give back? When and how did you come across the Bhagavad Gita study?
Uh, Bhagavad Gita studies. So fortunately, from my very childhood, I've had a very spiritual family background, and I'm very proud of that. So the study of Bhagavad Gita used to happen from a very early age, from the age of 12, I think. That's when I was introduced to Bhagavad Gita. But when I went to my university, that time, I think a more systematic study of Gita was introduced to me. And that's when I decided that, okay, I should not only take benefit from it for myself, I should also try to give it back. So during my first year at my uni, I was a participant. And from my second year onwards, I started trying to contribute. And while, of course, again, so many doubts uh, were bothering me. Why? Because I'm spending all my time in conducting these big events, this course, this class, this Bhagavad Gita program. And when I'm doing all this, all those students, all of my competitors, what are they doing? They are coding and preparing for their job interviews, right? So I had only 10 months with me. All those students gave 4 years. So that's another thing, what always kept on bothering me. But no, I think with reading of Bhagavad Gita, what happened is I became very focused. I managed to switch from screen time to serene time, you know. So the other students, they used to have late nights to start, but I tried to have a very regulated lifestyle, you know. Even if I had to there were some days, when I was like, I had to study a lot to achieve my defined goals for a particular day. One day I had studied for 15.5 hours, I think. So even those could be achieved because we were regulated, we were focused. So yeah.
Every response you get lets me puts me in even more awe of you and your journey so far. There's another question from Rajiv. Your story is amazing. My question is it possible to maintain our careers and at the same time go about it with a sense of detachment rather than completely having to give it up? Is one path better than the other?
No, I mean, both paths are bona fide, and I was able to do it because I had the time and support from family to execute it. That's why I did it. So it's not that to show your devotion to God or to show how committed you are to the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, you need to give everything up. What to talk of others? The person which was chosen on the receiving end of Bhagavad Gita was Arjun. And Arjun was a householder. He was a family man, right? Krishna is the person who's speaking the Bhagavad Gita, and Arjun is on the receiving end, right? So no, we don't need to renounce. It's just that I had the facility to take this step. So I'm taking this career break or sabbatical or whatever one may say. But yeah, the other path of carrying on with our day-to-day activities, with our family life, or some of you might be even students, So that's perfectly fine, bona fide, nothing wrong with that. Go ahead. So,
And in that, continuing your journey, as Arjuna did, is the goal, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, what's it? Think of me and fight. So keep doing what you need to do, but just keep me in the center of what you do.
yeah, right, correct.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing. This is a question from me on what you've shared now, especially going into monk life and into a monastery. Do you do you not feel, or do you still do you get into a productivity complex, especially after coming from such a high-paced industry, and working so hard your entire life, then coming to a monastery which is, I want to say, polar opposite, so calm, then do you not feel like agitated internally to want to achieve more instead of just receiving?
Yeah, this is the kind of opinions which I got to hear a lot when I was in the process of making this decision.
Yeah.
So many people told me that monk life is a bit slow-paced life. It's meant for for those people who are very peaceful. And I am someone who is always on the run, that achiever mindset, achieve, achieve, achieve. So by definition, I was not following the convention of a monk, but someone, when I was asking for blessings from different seniors, one senior said something very beautiful. He said, "Yes, it's correct. You might not be following the convention of a monk, but please remember that being unconventional is not a mistake. It's okay to be unconventional." So, yes, now the question comes, does that mental need to always be on the run, to achieve, to be productive, does that get fulfilled in monk life? Yes, it does. What I try to do is, in 24 hours, for my 24 hours of a day, I try to have engagement for myself worth 26 hours. So I'm very fond of memorizing the hymns of Bhagavad-gita, the verses of Bhagavad-gita. If I don't have anything else, what I'll do is I'll pick up Bhagavad-gita or other similar books. One of my favorites is Srimad Bhagavatam. So just pick up one of these books, memorize chapters after chapters, there's no end to this. So uh, yeah, that's a very good food for intellect. And I personally feel very satisfied when I do these things. So I don't think that I made a wrong decision. So yeah.
Just when I said I keep being in awe, I get more and more inspired with every question I ask. Um, Thank you so much for sharing that, and so encouraging for all of us, especially on a Think Gita event where we're trying to understand and read the Bhagavad Gita, to hear somebody who loves the Bhagavad Gita, and if they have any spare time, we just want to study it, is absolutely inspiring. I know we've got 5 minutes left. I've got more questions, but I do want to see if anyone else has questions, just so that I do give everyone a chance. Please put your, please put, I don't know if there's an option to put your hand up, or if you want to just drop a message in the chat. Maybe while we wait for, okay, I see. Is it Chenda? Do you have a question? You can unmute. Okay, maybe not. That's okay. I've got a question. So I know you spoke about the 5 a.m. club that you were interested in and that you started following. What does your ideal 5 a.m. Routine or morning routine look like to set you up? What did you say? Reform to perform. What does your reform look like in order for you to perform a 26-hour day?
Yeah, let me just open a verse from Bhagavad Gita. It's from the 6th chapter, text 10. So I'll just read out the translation for you. A yogi should always try to concentrate his mind, remaining in a secluded place, alone, with the mind and body controlled, free from desires and possessiveness. So it's good if we carry this mindset of a yogi all throughout the day, but especially during the early morning hours, the hours before the sunrise. In Sanskrit, they call it Brahma Muhurta. So it is said that these hours of the Brahma Muhurta, they are very spiritually surcharged. So my ideal morning routine begins with, I'll say, silence and stillness, which involves a bit of meditation, some gentle breath work, and some gratitude. And then I try to engage in some physical movements, yoga or exercise, to prepare myself, to prepare the body, and followed by reading a few verses from Bhagavad-gita, and then journaling down the corresponding reflections. Not always journaling. Sometimes I try to share those reflections also with those who share a similar mindset. So yeah, that's what my morning schedule looks like.
How long is your morning routine?
Depends from day to day. Sometimes it's at least 2 hours, but
Okay.
can be as long as 4 hours also. So what I generally try to do is I try to take sleep for 6 or 6.5 hours at night, from 9 p.m. till 3 a.m. And this is what I've been doing since my class 11, because I'd heard that if you tap the potential of sleep during these 6 hours, 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. or 9 a.m. to 3 a.m. No, sorry, 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. or 9 p.m. to 3 a.m., then you'll not need to take any rest during the remaining 18 hours. And I tried this. This worked very wonderfully for me. So I have been on and about the same schedule since my class 11, even during my university days, even after when I went to the professional life. Of course, sometimes due to late night meetings, things change a bit. But yeah, on a high level, this was it. So once I got up, straight 18 hours, I can go out and perform. So before I go out for performing, spending some 2-3 hours in the early morning, I try to do these things.
See, we've got 2 minutes left before you needed to be sleeping already. So I'll be extremely quick with these questions so that we can still let you sleep on time to wake up at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Um, do you think it's necessary to be productive all the time, such as a 24-hour day? Or is it also considered to be productive if one lives a mindful, slow life that is doing what needs to be done and resting accordingly, and being extremely productive if that's not what one needs to do, or what one wants to do?
Yeah, I agree with this point that we don't need to be productive uh, all throughout the day. What I see when someone talks about productivity, I think it more of mental productivity, because physical productivity will automatically be there if you're not fatigued. So when there'll be always some things which do not require so much of mental effort, uh, like some simple basic daily activities, right? So those activities for me are relaxation. So yeah, and things where I need to uh, give some deep thought, meditate, reflect, then yeah, they consume some energy. And because I've taken good rest at night, I think I'm prepared for that during the day. Yeah.
You have to. It's not necessary to be productive all the time, and it's more just intellectual stimulation, and yeah, that's how you do it.
Yeah, if someone is trying to give their 100% in all the activities, that's stupid. Give that much amount to an activity, what is required out of it. So yeah.
Got you. So even though you're busy all the time, some activities only require 10% effort, and some activities require 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's exactly 9 o'clock, and now I know you timed that answer or that response exactly perfectly for us to end on time, so that you can sleep to get a good 6 hours, so that you can have the best 26-hour day tomorrow. Um, and then thank you so much for being here with us today. For me, extremely inspiring. It felt like today just being in your association, I was in a circle and not a cage. And I know I speak for everybody that is on the call, that it's been really inspiring for us. Thank you for being here, and we hope to have you back on our events.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor being a part of this talk, and thank you again.
Thank you, and take care, and we'll connect again soon.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for joining. Really appreciate it. Thank you for all your thoughtful questions, and we look forward to seeing you at our next Wisdom Talk event.